Excel's GoTo feature is a great way to quickly go to a reference cell, unless of course it's just right next to you here. Just go ahead and click on it. For example, if I want to go to a cell that's way out there, let's say column Z, row 5000 or Z5000, I can do it the long way. I can come down here and click on the scroll bar and go all the way over to column Z, and then of course down to, well, several thousands of rows to row 5000, or I can use the shortcut, the GoTo feature, which is found up here on the Home tab over in the Editing group. Click on the Find drop-down arrow, and there it is. When I hover over it, you can see the shortcut keys are Control-G, or I can just click here, brings up the GoTo window, close out. The shortcut, Control-G, brings up the same window, close out, or you can hit the F5 key on the keyboard, and that brings up the same window as well. When you bring it up, all you have to do is go ahead down in the reference box, type in the cell reference, which is Z5000, and then either click OK, or because the OK button is active, in other words it's highlighted or outlined in blue, that means you can hit the Enter key on the keyboard, and it's just like clicking on the OK button. But before I do that, I want you to look over here. What cell are we leaving from to get to this cell or this reference here? We're leaving F13. Remember that just for a second here, and let's go over here and let me hit Enter on the keyboard, and boom, takes me to column Z, row 5000. Now if I want to get back to where I just came from, which was what, F13, you can go ahead and hit F5 on the keyboard, and it brings up the GoTo window, and it remembers the cell that you just left before you use the GoTo feature to come to this cell right here, Z5000. So that's really nice. In fact, if it wasn't listed down below, I can just go ahead and select it and click OK, and boom, it takes me right back to F13. By the same token, I just came from cell Z5000, so if I hit F5, I can go ahead and go back to Z5000. So in other words, the GoTo feature will remember the last cell that you were in before you actually used its feature to get to, well, whatever cell that you referenced and clicked OK to get to, which is really nice. Let me go ahead and click Cancel. Of course, if you always want to go to the upper left-hand corner of your worksheet, cell A1, you can use the shortcut keys Control-Home, or again, you can go ahead and use the GoTo feature and type in cell A1, and that will take you back to A1 as well. Let me go ahead and bring back up the GoTo window here. Now these cell references here that you see, they're temporary. In other words, the moment I close out of my workbook, this is going to be cleaned out. For example, let me click Cancel. And then instead of closing out of the entire program, let me just close out of the workbook by clicking on the inner X. And then because I have Windows 7, I can right-click on the Open Program down at the bottom, or the corresponding button to the window that I have open. And it gives me a list of my recent files here, the most recent being at the top, which is Commissions. Click on it, opens it back up. Or of course, if I didn't have Windows 7, come up here, click on the File tab, go down to Recent, and then it's got my top 20 recent workbooks. The most recent being up at the top, click on that, it'll open up that workbook as well. Now when I hit F5, it cleared the session. So it doesn't remember where I came from before I used the GoTo feature to go to the specified cell reference. No list here. The only list that you'll see here that's going to be permanent is if somebody uses named ranges. Now we haven't talked about named ranges in this level. We'll go over that in a later level. But to give you an idea of what's temporary and what's permanent, temporary is only for this session here if we're just zipping around back and forth. Permanent, let me click Cancel, are named ranges or named cells. In other words, when I click in a cell here, Excel has given it a name. It's column G, row 18, so the name it gives it in the name box is G18. Makes sense, right? Well, if I come up here and click in another cell, and it's cell F3, I can also go ahead and give it a name on top of that, one that's more recognizable to what's in that cell than just the generic reference of F3. I can come up here, click in the name box, and type over it, and type in com_1. For me, that means the cell is, instead of F3, which it still is, I'm adding another name on top of that, calling it Commission 1. When I hit Enter, it accepts it because over here I have Commission 2. So I'll come up here and type in com_2, hit Enter. In any case, we're going to go more in depth about named cells and ranges in a later training video, but the purpose of this is that, let me click off in another cell. When I hit F5 on the keyboard, those are going to be the permanent ones that, well, as long as you save the workbook after somebody enters in those new names for those cells, they'll stay up here forever. So I can select them and see if this makes sense. When you give a cell a name, I can understand the contents thereof a lot quicker than just, let's see, F3. Let me remember that. well, COM1, select it, click OK, it goes right to COM1 or commission, the first commission cell. And then like you said, be sure to save your work, and when I close out, if I go ahead and right click, go to my recent list here, the most recent is up at the top, bring back up again my workbook by clicking on it, hit F5 and it's still there. Okay. Finally, you have the special features of the GoTo feature. Click on it and you can do some GoTo specials, like either going to all the comments that are in the workbook if you have any comments, constants, in other words those cells that basically don't have any formulas in it. Go ahead and click OK. It selects all the cells that, well, they're constant. And you can see all the ones that are selected here. When I click on it, look up in the formula bar, it's not a formula. It's either numbers or text or maybe a combination of both as opposed to the formula down below. So if you want to quickly identify all the cells that contain formulas, because unless you actually click on each cell, you don't know if it's just somebody that entered in data or if it's the result of a formula. So go ahead and hit F5 on the keyboard, click on Special, and let's go ahead and select Formulas. And you can define what type of formulas you're looking for, those that contain just numbers or a mixture of text and numbers or mixture of all of these here. Click OK. And it selects all these cells here. So now I can quickly, after I use the feature, go, alright, these cells are the results or based upon constants or the range of cells here. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.